I wanted to make a video. Actually, I didn't want to make this video because I need to finish those two videos for starting retic businesses at different price points. I just got to edit them, but I figured I'd put this one out first. And the reason I'm putting this out was kind of in response to other people's responses of the recent Reach Out Reptile video. Its marketing was based around comparison of super dwarfs to ball pythons. That video got two very contradicting reviews from the people that watched it. Some people thought it was great and thought it was fantastic and very educational, and other people who have been in retics for even a short amount of time thought it was absolutely ridiculous, clickbait, and nonsensical. So I don't really think it's much of a mystery as to what side of the coin I'm on for my opinion on that video. But I don't really want to dissect that video too much. The only thing I'm going to say about it was, that's standard ROR marketing. That's been their style, is to put out that kind of information. Is it a fair comparison to use younger Karampas that have not been fed, that are all under haven't been fed heavily, are all under 5 years old, to compare to a ball python that was Volta too, which is considered one of the larger types of ball pythons? There's really not a whole lot that even needs said about that, because clearly it was just for marketing, and clearly they were using gravid and ovulating Karampas, so the whole point of that was to sell Karampas. It wasn't, I didn't see that as informative in any way, shape, or form. I just saw that as purely marketing. I wanted to talk about actual marketing. And the reason I wanted to talk about marketing is because it's one of the things you don't really see, not only in retics, but among the reptile industry in general. Some of the bigger names strictly rely on their names at this point. They do very little content for social media. They do very little social media engagement, and they depend on, well, that's going to sound great in the mic. And that's what they rely on. They rely on their name for the most part, and that's it. And that's fine. But for the newer people coming up, I really think a more professional approach to marketing and branding is what's needed. I highly don't recommend you make clickbait videos that's giving out poor information, like super dwarfs are smaller than ball pythons. And I certainly don't recommend you take my approach of being polarizing and argumentative. Both will cost you sales. The former will cost you sales later on down the line, and the latter will cost you sales in the beginning. So you don't want to lose sales either. So I would just stick to educational based content. I wouldn't try to go the entertaining route or the polarizing route that I am so good at. I do recommend, if you are new into the reptile space or the retic space, I really recommend you understand what you need to do for marketing. And the best thing you can do to market your animals as a new breeder is to just talk about them, show them, discuss them, engage in social media. And when you're marketing them, you don't want to lie, you don't want to make stuff up, you don't want to hype them up. The best form of marketing for your retics is how they look. As long as you're making stuff that looks good, that's the best thing you can do to market your animals. Because when you present your product, i.e. your retic, as long as it looks good, that says something about your production. It says your production is aimed towards making aesthetically good looking animals. And that's the best form of marketing there is in reptiles. The aesthetic quality of your production is hands down the best aspect of marketing if you're in this industry and you're looking to sell animals. The second best is clearly content and engagement in social media. If you're not, you can have the best looking snakes in the world. If nobody knows you have them, then you're not going to sell them. And even when you have stuff for sale up on places like Morph Market, I go on Morph Market and I see a ton of people on there with retics. I have no idea who these people are. And a lot of them are not in any of the social media groups for retics. They're not making content on Instagram. They're not making content on YouTube. And that's really going to hurt you if your animals are comparable to somebody else's, but that other person, they're in all the Facebook groups, they're posting regularly on Instagram, they're posting regularly on YouTube, they have a YouTube channel. That's they're engaging in creating a community based around their animals. And that's what you need to do, because all the old breeders, very few are engaging at that level. You just have to go in any Facebook group and ask a couple questions, and you'll see who takes the time to respond and who doesn't. And you can go on YouTube and you can see who's taking the time to making videos and who's not taking the time to make videos. So, and the people that are putting in the effort to do the marketing, those are the ones that are going to be getting the sales. But you have to be making nice looking stuff. So to market your animals, that's really what you want to be doing. You want to just be trying to make the nicest possible examples of whatever it is you're working with and putting it out there. If you're not putting it out there, you're wasting your time, to be honest. That's really all that this comes down to really be successful in reptiles, and especially retics, is because the bar has been set so low. It's not hard to seem like an overachiever in retics if you're any effort into marketing. So you'll blow right past people. And three people that I think you're going to see really doing well is Spencer, Dylan Clary, and Ryan Conkey. And the reason I think that is because you see Spencer putting in a ton of effort into his social media, a ton of engagement. You see Dylan, he's been in some different YouTube videos. He put together a website, which is, I recommend to everybody to get a website, and almost nobody in retics has a website. Think about that. Like, take a second and really think about that. Almost no breeder in retics has a website. I have one, Garrett has one, Rob has just got one. Hardly anybody from the Retic Nation crew has one. Nobody wants to take the time. And I think I'm the only older breeder that really has a website and has any significant amount of information. Like my website, rnbreptiles.com, it's more about education than it is selling snakes. I mean, it's probably the largest single source of information on reticulated pythons like that you can find, just for a website. I don't know of any other website that has more retic information on it than mine. And that's just kind of a free tool that I put out to everybody to help them out. So yeah, get yourself a website, and I know Spencer is planning on a website, Dylan's got a website, and Ryan's planning to get a website. Spencer's already got merch, Dylan's already got merch, Ryan's working on merch. These are three new and up and coming breeders that are setting themselves up to really get themselves out there. Spencer's already done some podcast and YouTube stuff. So is Dylan. Ryan's working on that. It's in the works now. I see these newer breeders understanding that the reptile industry is online, and that's where you need to be, and you need to be consistent in your online engagement to get sales. And I know Dylan did really well so far since he's got the website. And, I'm looking forward to see what Spencer and Ryan do moving forward, as I know they're both planning on getting a website as well. They're not going to have any competition because nobody else is doing it. As the reptile industry continues to move forward and continues to move more into that online space, the older breeders, they're just going to get left behind. At some point, they're going to have to face the harsh reality that your name isn't enough anymore. It's the quality of your product and the quantity of your content that's going to sell your animals. And it's also the quality of your content as well. And that's where I think the issue of, clickbait stuff like are SDs smaller than ball pythons? Look, well, we all know they're not. We all know if you feed them, it's not even, it's completely ridiculous comparison. And if you are going to get a website and you are going to spend a lot of time on social media, I recommend you don't do clickbait stuff, because you don't want to end up in a position like ROR is now, where they've put out so much junk, they have a hard time even engaging anymore in any of the reptile or the retic related Facebook groups. You no longer can push ideas like 50% superdors stay as small as pure superdors. You can't push, oh well, we have the tiniest bloodlines, or oh, the female magically controls size, and since it was a superdor female, and it was bred to a mainland male, well, she's going to make sure that all the babies stay small like her. Like, you can't push that stuff anymore to the retic industry as a whole. The only people you can push that to is people that don't know better. You can try to siphon off Clint's Reptiles and Snake Discovery and those type of viewers, and that's it. So you don't want to put out junk, clickbait, misleading content at all, because you will get called out for it and it will hurt your business. So if you're new to retics, what I recommend is putting out content, just telling your story, what got you into retics, why you decided to take it to the next level, to start going more of a business or like side hustle type situation. Just tell the story, talk about your animals, and put out as much information as possible. And you can put out information, be like, hey, this is what I'm learning, this is what I'm seeing. Start documenting stuff. Start documenting what you're seeing your females doing when you think they're going into breeder mode, or like what behavioral changes you're seeing in your adults as they're going into breeding season. Start talking about your projects, why you're doing them, why they're of value, and what value they're going to offer to the retic industry as a whole. Those are things you can talk about. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to have 20 years of experience or know everything about retics to do any of that. You can just talk about what you're doing, and that's plenty good enough. As long as you're getting in front of people and you're getting your product in front of people, that's what you need for branding, because that's what you want your brand to be. You want ideas like genuine, honest, selective breeding, responsible. Those are the terms you want connected to your brand. That's what your brand needs to represent. You do not want things like clickbait, misinformation, nonsense, used car salesman, bullshit sales pitch. You do not want any of that stuff connected to your brand. If you try to go the route of making videos similar to things like superdors are smaller than ball pythons, you don't need that. You do not need that. That's going to hurt you long term. So just stick to what you know and what you're learning, because that is what your brand will become. That is your branding. Branding is attaching your products, your business, to ideas. And you want those ideas to be along the lines of helpful, useful, genuine, honest, selective breeding, high aesthetic value. That's what you need your brand to be if you want to sell retics, because you're going to be up against people that have been doing it for a long time, people that have more of an established name. That's how you win at this game. You win at this game by making nicer stuff and creating a brand that has the right things attached to it. You don't want secretly dealing with Samson connected to your brand. You don't want used car salesman connected to your brand. You don't want saying whatever it takes to get the sale connected to your brand. You want the opposite of all that. You want, I was honest with my customer and I was willing to lose the sale, because being honest with the customer is more important than making the sale. No, I'm not going to deal with people like Samson behind closed doors. You need to make the right choices now, especially if you're new, because it will bury you. I mean, it will, these types of things will destroy you. For your branding, That's what you need to do. Get your business, your name, your snakes aligned with the ideas of honesty, selective breeding, responsibility, integrity, genuine. You don't want to become a laughing stock. Trust me. You do not want to become, you do not, it doesn't matter if you build up your brand and make a ton of money. That's great if you manage to do that. But if you do that by lying to people, by selling people false hopes, by selling people false dreams, by overcharging people, it won't last. You might get some money for the first few years, maybe the first 5 years, but eventually everybody will see through what you're doing. And then you won't be able to engage in any of the retic groups because you'll be getting called out, you'll be getting laughed at. So avoid that at all costs and just do the right thing. Make honest content. YouTube is now like getting 1 billion views a day or something crazy like that. It's beating out all TV. So you need to get on YouTube and get your stuff on YouTube and just tell your story because it's relatable. You telling what you're seeing and what you're doing and what you're learning in real time, that's really relatable. You don't need a crocodile to sell retics. If you need a crocodile to sell retics, you're doing things wrong. If you need any kind of clickbait nonsense to sell retics, which is kind of funny because the the thumbnail for this is definitely clickbaity, but that's the joke. That's not what you need to sell retics. You need quality retics to sell retics. You don't need a crocodile. You don't need to do dumb stuff. You only need that if you're trying to get people to view your content in hopes that you can trick them into buying a snake that they're probably not qualified to own. And I don't recommend that. But to give you some help here, what I do recommend, I'm going to give you a little content weekly schedule. This is what I recommend for content schedule for marketing and branding. Every day, have at least one post, up to 3, of whatever you're doing. It can be a snake, it could be a breeding, it could be a quick video of you cleaning, doing whatever. A short, a reel, if you're on TikTok, whatever social media you're doing, at least one short form video a day. And you can shoot them all at one time. You can shoot them all on a weekend and then edit them, get them up on your social media platforms and schedule them out for the whole week. I do that quite a bit, and then you can forget about it. The next thing you need to do is make one long form piece of content, ideally for YouTube, at least 5 minutes. And that can just one a week, just you showing something, you talking about a breeding plan, talking about what you're researching, what you're learning, what your long-term plans are, anything, one a week. And you won't run out of ideas. If you start thinking about what you're trying to learn about retics or what you have learned, you won't run out of ideas. And you can take ideas from my stuff. If you want to, feel free. If you're on my website and you're reading something about, if you're like, say you're reading the article I wrote on selective breeding for polygenic inheritance, right? And you read that and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna take a look at like these 2 snakes at my house, and I got here, and I think maybe I'm gonna try a project because I like the back pattern or I like the color. Make a 5-minute video about it, like 5 minutes to 20 minutes. Make a video about it. If you were doing research on localities and learn something new about some locality, or make a video about it. Once again, there's tons of information on my website. Go take it. I don't care. It's not copyrighted. I put that shit out for free. If use it. If you want to cite it that you got the information from me, fine. If you don't, I don't care. It's whatever. And I honestly don't care. Put whatever you're learning, whatever you're doing, once a week, turn it into a 5 to 20 minute video for YouTube. And you can do that on your day off. You can make it with your phone. Reminds me, maybe what I'm going to do is I might put a section on the website for links to some free video and photo editors. Like there's like CapCut and I think it's like VN something. Uh, I can put that up. And there's a lot of new AI stuff coming out. Spencer was just telling me about this new one that he's using. Maybe we'll get the link to that up to help you guys out. The only other thing you need to do besides one piece of short form content a day, one piece of long form content a week, is engagement on social media. Once you put that stuff out and people like it or say it looks good, respond to them, thank them. If they have a question, answer their question to the best that you can. If you see people starting conversations in Facebook groups, engage in that conversation. Even if your engagement is asking a question, be like, okay, well, you know, this was a question, but here's my question of like, you know, how could we do this or whatever. Just engage. It doesn't matter. Like you don't need to, I wouldn't necessarily start an argument, but engage. You know, even if you have an opposing view, share your opposing view. If you think X morph combo doesn't look good and somebody thinks it looks good, be like, hey, I personally think this looks better or whatever. Even if it's you know, even if it's a little bit controversial, who cares? Express your opinion, talk about what you think, and engage. And those are the three things you need to do: short form content, long form content, engagement. And if you're a new retic breeder and you're doing this consistently, that's the key, consistently, it will pay off, and it will pay off majorly, majorly pay off. You know, ask, if you're talking to Dylan, ask Dylan how much having the website has paid off for him. Ask him how much being in some YouTube podcasts and videos has paid off for him. Ask Spencer. Spencer hasn't even sold a snake yet. He has over 40,000 subscribers on his YouTube, you know. Ask him. Yeah, as a new keeper breeder, just make sure you engage, because it will pay off long term like you can't believe. And since you're going up against these people that have been doing it for 20 years, they're not doing any of this stuff. A lot of them, they just put out stuff when they hatch something because they want everybody to tell them how amazing they are and how amazing their snakes look. And a lot of times their snakes actually don't look that good. Sometimes they crush it. Sometimes they do. Most of the time they don't, to be honest. Most of the time their shit looks like the shit they were making 10 years ago. And you know, they're not really moving forward with selective breeding like the new people are. Take advantage of this opportunity since you're getting into this space, and understand that the reptile industry has essentially moved to online and social media. So, but that's it. I didn't want to really go off on the whole ROR thing too much. I do think it's just nonsensical clickbait. And I think ROR's content is an excellent cautionary tale for new keepers and breeders on what to avoid, because you don't want to build yourself up to being this kind of authority with nonsense information, only to get laughed at within the retic community and have to rely almost solely on people that don't know better. You know, that's because that's all you'll have left. If you want to put out nonsense, the only people that are going to believe nonsense are people that don't know any better. And that's not a good clientele. That's not a good client base to have, because the second they learn anything, they want nothing to do with you anymore, and you will not get another dime of their money. So stay honest and just put out helpful, useful information, and tell your story. That's the best marketing you can do.